next presenter, someone that I've been watching from afar, studying, seeing all the different people who they're touching, and he just, Justin just seems to me like somebody who just wants to help as many people get as good as they can get. You know, he's really not like, this is the only team I work with, and he said earlier today that he loves working with 10th Planet gyms. But this is probably the seminar I'm personally the most excited about from the whole weekend, because it's the thing that's the furthest from my side, you know? So I feel like this is where personally I want to learn, like suck up the most details, but I hope you guys are excited as I am. So let's make as much noise as we can for Justin Jflo Judo.
Humbled and honored to be here, an invited clinician. Hopefully, some of the stuff I teach is relatable. I know, some of the high amplitude stuff isn't the most forgiving on your body, so we'll warm up and ease in and see where we're at through just like basic drills and without doing too much technique, where everyone can kind of be streamlined and conceptually the most important parts of like wrestling and judo could be showcased in jiu-jitsu. All right, so let's just spread out for now as much as we can. And I'll just kind of lead some solo drills that'll help us get warmed up and crystallize some of the important stuff I want to work on today. So stand up. We're just going to move side to side, foot sweeping. So some key points, tent pulls. It's all in the hips, right? I don't have to age myself out here with a reference from an old Adam Sandler movie. But I don't want you leaning forward when you do your foot sweeps. Try and lean your head just a little bit back, but look forward. Don't look up. And our foot is gonna, just our little toe is gonna make contact. And to do so, we have to turn our hip. The most important part of our foot sweep is the one foot past our supporting foot. So right to there. No further, we don't wanna turn our hip and kick. We don't wanna come too far out before it. But just stand on your left foot and hold this position. On all of your foot, your hands, little T-Rex arms, your toe. If you're gonna step, hop and support your weight and keep resuming that foot sweep, right? Don't like take a step every time you do a foot sweep. You should be able to kind of carry on here. Once you get like 10 or 15, switch to the other foot. Just use your little toe. Turn to the bottom of your foot. It's really gonna make contact on them. Not sweeping flat where as much impact as that takes on your knee, right? You wanna be streamlined. Your head and your toe are just one line. So the most leverage is through that and power for your body, not just like toe tap, right? So now once you got 10 or 15, let's just shuffle side to side. And every time we make that foot sweep, our hands are gonna go straight down. You're not gonna push away and step, right? That's a common misconception for foot sweeps. It's like you gotta fall down with them, right? Not necessarily, you wanna be the second one to fall, right? So you're in control after, rather than I foot swept them, but I ended up getting my back taken because there's so much momentum, I got rolled through on just any takedown, right? So hands are coming down, foot is sweeping, you're breathing out usually in accordance with that foot sweep, right? So now I know space is a little limited here. Let's try and shuffle one time and then sweep. See that? Shuffle, shuffle, sweep. I know, we're all dancing here. Try and look straight. Don't turn a big wheel like you're driving a school bus. Just your hands straight down. Boom. Not out, okay? All right, let's add a third dimension here, okay? So now we're gonna stay in the same spot, and we're gonna shuffle. 1, 2, 3, sweep. 1, 2, 3, sweep. So every time I do this, I'm actually facing a different wall, right? But my face should remain where it started. Don't turn your head with this and kind of like lose your sense of balance and where you are. So keep it streamlined where your hips and your upper body kind of doing two different things, right? I'm not robotronically, right? It should be like almost hot coals, right? When I do this foot sweep, I cut an angle, I'm sweeping, I'm breathing out.
Get a couple reps of this.
We're gonna use our body and our head and our toe on opposite ends, right here, and they're gonna remain straight. So you wanna get to perpendicular with the mat. So my right toe, the one that's in the air, should try and be turned inwards, not like a dog going in the bathroom, right? but like our toe turned in and our foot going behind us. We should be able to kind of like understand what the balance points are there before we just do it explosively with a lot of momentum. So this is like control, right? Right here. When we throw, our hand goes down and that should support our leg. Not doing a big throw and stepping back. So when we do a big throw with Jflo or something, you want to kind of go to the mat safely. And usually that's through your hand or elbow, right? So when we do our reps here, just act like a seesaw, a human seesaw. Our head and our toe, opposite ends. And touch the mat, do 10 of those. Right foot, my right leg. For all the people that are right-handed, lead with their right foot. Your left foot is actually the one that's going to be left leg, doing most of the work. Like as far as you're supporting you and them when you possibly throw them. So kind of remember that, keep that in mind for these reps we're doing. Like me, I perfected being on my right foot, right, rather than on this foot. It's still not that good, so I've kind of run away with one side and not all in on the other side. So if you're beginning this journey, you don't have to be that way. You're pretty good at both sides over a long amount of time. If you choose one, know that's your lead side. If you lead with your right foot, you're going to want to lift your right leg. So your left foot is the one supporting your weight. Okay, so let's try and get like 10 or 15 reps, just like understanding that concept where our foot and the head aren't going back at the same time. We're just as one, right? And then I'm just going to 1, 2, 3 with my feet, right? And then I'm going to acknowledge this. Because we might need those grips for different takedowns, right? Rather than just like, oh, on to the next one, on to the next one. It's kind of like too loose and non-realistic movements. So it's just here, here, here. You see I'm shifting my stance every time. With a right underhook, I'm a righty, right foot forward. Right, this is where I'm going to want to attack from, right? Whether I'm tripping, reaping, or single legging, double legging. With my left foot forward, you know, this is the side I'm going to be using my feet and have more handles, right? Just remember that when you come righty, left. These are turns that I'm going to kind of lean on today as far as, I don't know, like your preferred side. So keep those elbows nice and loose. I should be like over here dodging bullets and doing random movements. Just keep that head still. And then your underhooks kind of dictate where you end up, right? Make sense? Any questions? Let's do like 50, all right? On 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's take like some steps, right? Not too many. Let's move a little more circularly, right? So we're going to get 2, and then 2 on the other side, and then we're going to switch sides. Other person go. So I'm going to step and get perpendicular from this angle. I'm going to step and face it and pull that back. That's how I can get this foot to move. This, right? Or whatever technique. I'm going to step and pull. On the second one, I'm going to pummel. Now I'm on the other side. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull so he steps. Pull so he steps. Shuffle to the other side. Now it's master. It's going to make me step. Not yet with the pummel. Get 2 in. Good. One more step and pull. Good. Now pummel. Good. 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 Nice. Make sense? Go back and forth till each person's done 10 sets. Make sense? All right, on 3, 1, 2. Points before I move on. I mean, pretty basic stuff, and most of you did fine with it. So if I have a right technically, right? So I want to step with my left and pull in, but without switching my stance side. Unless I'm going to hit like an inside trip or something, I can definitely switch my stances. But for now, just to like understand like Kazushi, balance breaking, pulling someone, and he steps. You created something out of nothing rather than we're both just here squeezing each other, right? So that's important for conceptually how to open up techniques and get someone off balance without trying a big sacrificial movement, right? Just a little thing to feel where they're at. You know, like you make people step a lot of ways until you find the kill shot, right? So from this, we're just gonna go basic. I'm gonna step, pull, I'm gonna punch my shoulder that I have under to create space for this thing. So it's hard to just pummel in and get the lunge. So what I have to do is I have to step, break the bounce, punch that shoulder, little crease. Now whichever side my head is on, that's the side I want to step and lead with, right? Like if I want to be able to use my hips for takedowns rather than like worried about like stepping on his feet, being awkward, because that's real. So kind of like understand once we get double unders, like we want to get closer rather than further, right? It's okay if you step on a foot every once in a while. Get for like 5 seconds that understanding. Where we're in here, kind of working, if you have long arms, you know, that's kind of more your grip. Sliding down as your S grip, as your kind of maybe stubby arm guy, right? Right here. So once we get here, all Matt's gonna do, he's gonna put his hands on my hips, he's gonna bow his elbows inwards and break that lock. Now the opposite side of his head is the side he's gonna pummel. He was right, yeah, perfect. Now he's gonna rinse and repeat. He's gonna step circle, punch and shoulder, double unders. He's gonna walk around and understand like positionally what's best for him until I can break that lock. Then I'm pummeling the far side, not the near side. So if he has double unders, I don't want him to kind of like re-grip that, get that grip. So once I break that grip, I gotta be quick with this under. You're just gonna step back in, try a desperate move, right? So the step I pull, I punch that shoulder, I get that hand in, I step forward. And I kind of understand where his feet are maybe, where he's like leverage points to get to the inside. Now I'm not looking down. That's the hardest part. I want to do this. But that pretty much decreases 90% of the offense. So understanding, being okay, like walking and moving just a little bit without stepping on his feet or worried about them. That's the most common thing. And understanding what's your power side. Like I'm a lefty for life. I'm not gonna try and get over here. No. Yeah. So know yourself here. So back and forth, we're gonna do this for like 5 minutes. So he's gonna go first, he's gonna step pull pummel, punch that shoulder, he's gonna walk around a little bit, and I'm gonna be okay kind of like navigating these waters, right? Step and pull, punch the shoulder, step in the hole, right? Just kind of understanding where he might be off balance. Now he's gonna break that lock. Pummel, that's it. We're just gonna kind of go back and forth. Any questions? Yeah.
So your dominant leg's in between and your dominant arm is the long arm?
Pretty much, yeah. Like the seatbelts are good for it. That's where it'd be. I want it closer to that than like squaring up. Make sense? Yeah.
When you break that lock, will you just show that again?
Sure. So there's a bunch of stuff we can do. We're super basic. So I'm gonna bring my hands to his hips. I'm gonna back pedal, leading with like the correct leg. If his head's on the side, that's the foot I want for it. I don't want to like, this is wonky, it could squeeze me. I want to kind of bow my back and bring my elbows down in it. Like the hands on the hips is just so he doesn't swallow me whole, right? Like I'm able to like control something. But let him get that lock. Don't like defend the lock. So if I'm going and I get that lock, you let me get it. Now it's, playfully, he needs to be able to break that lock, right? Yeah. Make sense? Yeah. Mechanically speaking. All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a lefty versus a righty. You understand that concept? His left foot is kind of his lead one, and my right one is my lead one. It's a whizzer versus an under. Versus like more of a 50-50 position where we're both the same when we run. Okay, so winning the double unders, can be done multiple ways, but let's stick with this one. There's a lot of fun ways where we can pull to the inside and double unders and have offense. But let's just put like step, punch our shoulder, step in the hole, and now from here, we're gonna take us back. So we're gonna make a decision. Okay, we're in good position. We're gonna pivot our feet and not throw in. We're gonna lift our whizzer. And the probability of him ditching the whizzer or falling on his back are really high. Okay, just with the position of me pulling him, rotating, pivoting, lifting. If he gets up his back, which we will in this drill. Well, some people don't. You end up on top and half guard, which is good too. So there's your takedown. But for now, I'm gonna leave him with that choice. Right, but if I pivot and I rotate, yeah, cool, I win. For the takedown. Now, he's gonna ditch the whizzer, which I want everyone to kind of do, but it has to be earned. Now from here, Matt's gonna pop up, standing up, he's gonna fight my hands. He's gonna choose one hip. He's not gonna like be square and in the middle. He's gonna choose probably his lead side should be your strong side and pushing those hands down. So not in the middle, square, or here. Switching, being perpendicular from him and pushing those hands down and away, over one hip. Here. I like to hold on to one side so when I turn back in, I have an automatic underhook. Right? Down and away. If this hand comes up of his, I like to kind of rotate it through. So I'm coming under the arm. It just depends on what I feel out of this. But for now, let's just break that lock. Cut through. We're gonna pummel. Now let's master. He's gonna step, pull, pummel. He's gonna step in the hole. He's gonna rotate, maybe choose. Right? I could have easily been on my back. Right? So in that, when he steps in the hole and he rotates and pivots, his hands come up, right? A lot of times if my hands come up, down to the mat here, it's hard for me to just stand up magically. I'm in like a quad pod. So what I like to do is knee slide to come back up. Not a sit out. Similar movement where it's the knee that's closest to him that comes to the mat and slides forward. Now I push back after stepping, right? Now I have this position again, boom. I cut in, I turn. Good, make them earn it a little bit too. I don't want to see for now any of this person doing a mat return. We're gonna get into that. Push those hands away, and instead of running forward and moving forward to like get away, move backwards. Put some weight on it. And just for being in control, right? So if I'm running forward and Matt has a good mat return, like a lift and return, he's gonna definitely be able to do that. But if I'm coming back into him, there's no way. Make sense? So mechanically speaking, no circle, no forward. Shuffle backwards, cut, you're in your pummel. So my back is taken, maybe I ended up because of the takedown here in a quad pod. Step out, knee slide, come back up. Push away those hands, cut in, right? Step and pulling, pummeling, stepping in a hole. I'm lefty, so I want to be on this left side. Boom. Get his way up, perfect. Make sense? I know there's a lot there to extrapolate, but keep it simple. We're just doing double unders, like before. He's gonna just rotate to the side that's open, not this side in front. He's gonna pivot his feet, rotate, lift his elbow. Most likely, mechanically speaking, he's gonna take my back, or at least partial, before the mat return. We're not gonna get there yet. Any questions? Yeah.
When you step your leg in, when you get those double unders with your hips, are you going straight in or are you kind of doing a downwards upward motion when you're doing it?
So I'm not trying to like throw him, right? I'm trying to like use my knee as like a fulcrum, something to pivot over. And when I pivot and I rotate, instead of shooting that leg back. So we could take this a bunch of ways offensively, double unders. But for now, you know, instead of like lifting front uchimata, inside trips, kouchis, all these different movements, just have that inside ownership. That's why when I had you guys walk around before, it was like just to establish some sense of I don't have to look down. It's okay, my feet are still there, his feet are still there, everything's in order. Now once you recognize knee to the inside, pivot and lift your elbow, get that kind of wizard to disappear. I mean, of course, we're gonna be able to do more transitionally, but let's get this takedown part. Yeah? All right, I'll do 1, 2, 3. It's our double unders the same way, right? You know, I've seen some people using like different ways to get this double under, and I love it. Like use your feet, use the side, stumble them, and just use your feet a little. I'm gonna go into that movement a little bit later, but I want to have a counterpoint to what we're doing. So I get to my double unders, and I'm losing. He's putting his hands on my hips. He's gonna break my lock. I can't like hold on to this. So I'm just gonna bail, and with my same side of my head, this that arm is gonna come to the shoulder. So I'm trying to chase it down, but I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I'm gonna come to that shoulder, okay? And here, I'm gonna kick my leg back as though I'm like down walking or sprawling with one leg. Like if Matt was gonna try and grab my leg, that's the same kind of movement I want to exhibit. Where, I'm throwing that hip down. So I'm losing him, I'm losing him, I'm losing him. Right, I'm on this chin, and I have this nearsighted, like, short underhook. I'm not like trying to do too much with it right now. I'm just here, okay? So from this position, let's just get there like 10 times each. Don't add anything to it yet. Just like be able to put someone's head underneath you. Right, I have double unders. I'm losing him though. Right? I don't want to reach too high for it. I don't want to give him a duck under or possibly like an entry to turn to my back. So I don't want to like look too high. I want my underhook to pull his head under and my shoulder to just land on that neck, right? I don't want to like, right? I don't even have to reach for it if it's done properly, right? So keep that in mind. First few you might have to reach for it, but be able to use that shoulder and chin strap and then numerous submissions from here, you know? So practice with that, like we were winning in here and we were able to get it, it didn't work, right? Now we have the same position. Make sense? Any questions?
Body position for okay, you want that leaning?
Yeah, so as the Uke, Matt is like, I'm down here. I want to get the lock broken like we practiced 15 minutes ago. Right? Good, exactly. Make sense? So not to like fishbowl it or poke him in the eye. Start slow. All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Get that. So we're in our pummel, right? Positionally, depending on our height and relative to our uke or opponent, Like I'm probably a little shorter than that, so I'm okay just stepping forward rather than out, right? Just because I don't have that much length to make contact with that far leg, right? So I'm gonna step kind of in and then rotate my hips. So the movement we're gonna be able to do here is that, right? That. So instead of like putting your foot and trying to find his foot or her foot and fall backwards in like a overly committed sacrificial way, we want to be able to, you know, that step we did like this, whoa, very similar to that here. Boom, and I'm just opening my hip up and using my foot, right? So I don't have to put any extra on it. We have our momentum from our kazushi, right, our pull. Now we have to be able to step and pivot our hip and use that leg more as like a stopper than a sweeper, right? So we should be able to keep our balance on one foot. We talked about that earlier, right? So when I do this, see how I always step down when he falls. I mean, in practice. Right? Like that, I fall on top. For now, we're gonna keep it PG. I'm pulling and I'm rotating, right? That's my movement. It's all in the hips, right? I don't want to bend over. I kind of want to like rotate and be long, right? So I don't have to look at my target. The first few, it's okay to kind of like go down there. Okay, I think it's, you know, that's my target. So we're gonna step to the outside a little if you're the same height, right? Maybe a little to the inside if you're shorter. Shorter is like, could be more of like a lift almost, right? We have our hips underneath that. But for now, let's just keep it more a roll than a big lifting throw. My elbow continues to pull as I look behind me. So I don't want to stay facing him and just fall backwards and he taps me and I'm on my back, right? That's like, you know, not very dynamic. So I gotta be able to rotate and pivot. See that? Follow through when need be, but for now it's like, be a malleable partner, right? If you don't fall, if Matt does this nice and lightly, put your hand to the mat. Okay? Okay. It's okay, your elbow's not gonna explode. This is like low momentum, more position than anything. Okay, so do that like 3 or 4 times. Being able to, as a partner, understand when he gets this, I have 2 options. Bail, self-preservation, or I'm along for the ride, I might as well make it as smooth as possible by rolling, breathing out, tucking my chin, slapping him out. So when he does it, right? I know a break fall is usually prerequisite. I make everyone do like 10 minutes of break fall. That's my like, okay, you sign up for this. But for here, lack of space, I want to see more of the hand to the mat as the partner here. So when I do this, right, we want to end up back in the front headlock. So I'm going to step, pull, rotate, and once his hand goes to the mat, I ditch that under. Step, pull, I pivot, rotate. Now my chin strap. I'm not under this time, I'm over. To be able to kind of like understand what you have after that. We'll do a few things, but if it doesn't work so much, you're out nothing. You said I didn't fall. That's the important thing for a lot of these takedowns that I like the most. No risk, high reward. Rather than like trying maybe an inside trip. Like, okay, maybe. But the older we get, let's be more efficient, right? Rather than like practical, right? Here. You don't need to slow down. That's the goal. Any questions? Yeah.
I've seen you switch between the Sasei and the Hizaguruma a couple of times. So is that just a body difference or is that just a preference just based on?
I can do Hizo when I can do a cross step.
Okay.
So if I'm over here, I like to kind of run away. Do you see how he steps?
Yes.
Naturally, but I'm further away. So I like to go a little higher and kind of like around the knee, but it's a delicate touch. As a partner and we're willing to do this stuff, you know, not so we're friends, right? So a little higher, especially if I'm running away, it's a little higher and have more space to go with. So I preferably want more space, but sometimes they're so strong and rigid, I kind of like to go through them, right? So we'll learn these varying degrees within your own potential and what you exhibit, like your skill set. If you're taller, you probably don't want to go underneath. You kind of want to run away and use that toe just to screen. Sometimes even if I miss it, there's so much whip. I'll get the position that's desired anyways. Makes sense? The key components here is rotating the bottom of my foot is gonna make contact, right? And I'm gonna ditch this underhook once I feel his hand going to the mat. So as partners, if you do this, let's try not to do it with you. Right, like, you're gonna be okay. Do it? Yeah, makes sense? And when we finish, preferably square back up. You see, I'm not like trying to cheat an angle yet. Just kind of get to where it's like this uncomfortable. I like to pinch my elbows. Right, if Matt's trying to break free, circle, get my elbow. I'm able to like hold a lot of weight here, doing relatively nothing. So that's kind of a key position I like to get really athletic people into early, just to kind of sauce them. We're doing our side. Yeah.
If you miss the trip, like maybe the distance is too far, or he steps over. I know there's like lots of other options to go about. Do you continue on trying to just sweep again?
No, I usually go to like a 5 prod.
Yeah.
So if I like hit that, it doesn't work, let's put my hand in there, just to offer another like breaking balance point, right? Pinky high, thumb down, rather than trying to do a curl with their leg. So yeah, I mean, if I miss that, just go with that same movement, right? Make sense? Let's give it a try. 3, 1, 2. Because this leg is heavy. We gotta get this thing moving. That's why this is a good one to set up. Now this leg is not right in front of us, heavy, with most of their weight there on that leg, right? It's just hard to grab here and throw something. So what I like to do is I used to make a reaction. Like maybe go to grab that leg. Now I have that hand right in place, pinky high, arm straight. I'm circling and backpedaling. I'm not trying to like throw him with my arm. I'm not trying to do too much, right? The position is true to itself. This is just a fulcrum, right? It's like in there to kind of get his hand to the mat. Then we have options, right? Whatever options you like for front headlocks. So, you know, right there. So I go to grab that leg. And I switch that hand to the inside, pinky high, arm straight. And I circle and I kind of like make a J. So now I have my front headlock. Whatever, you know, finishes I want to take from that, back takes kind of on you. I want to go through some of that a little bit. But let's have ways to get them underneath you. Rather than, you know, just Greco style where it's up here like we practiced, right? So we're gonna pummel, right? We might use that side to initially get that balance break. I like to use judo as just a very subtle thing, rather than the overwhelming thing where we slam someone and then maybe get rolled and both people get hurt. And I like to implement it very, like, it's hard to even see sometimes, but that's the crux and the focal point of the takedown. But it's subtle. It's not like in your face trying to slam them through the mat. It's just that little 5 degrees that's gonna break their balance. And in this case, it's true with our society. We don't land it, but we have options now just based on that subtle bounce rate. Make sense? Want to try it? All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm going to get into more of a wrestle position that I think for anyone who does throws and trips is super necessary, okay? Like, how do you take the back from front headlock? How do you kind of, what's the motion there? Rather than giving a position and maybe they're able to like get you in half guard by facing you, and jiu-jitsu fire wrestling thing where you could dominantly take their back, right? If we're not finishing them in front of them, right? So for now, let's just go hands on the mat, perfect. I'm gonna have this position, okay? Just understanding like a front headlock, double triceps. This position here, I should be able to like really sauce someone. That's the goal at least, without squeezing too much or exerting too much energy, right? Do less. So if I have a chin strap and a tricep, right? This is my position. I just want to be able to circle around someone the same way 10 times, okay? And it's my upper body and lower body that are doing stuff. So I'm going to go through what reactions you might have from here, what they might do, and how do you negate those feels. But it ultimately all starts with our front headlock. And we got, I think, 3 positions got us here today, right? So I like to go inside of the tricep and pull my elbow in and put his bicep on his ear, right there. Now I'm holding my shoulder on top of like the high back, low neck. I'm not too like down, I'm kind of on top, right? From this position, I mean, Matt has a tough time. He's gonna probably try and circle a little bit, move around, which is fine. And I should be able to follow this without thinking about submissions yet. Just understand like, okay, where is this going? He might stand up, try and stand up, just pull me down. My elbow's tight. There's no daylight in here where you might sit through and duck and do some things. It's in front of me, right? Like I'm using like almost like an abbreviated sprawl, positionally. Right, my elbow's in, pulling this elbow up. Just kind of hold this for like 15, 20 seconds before you make any determinations what you're gonna do. Just understand that you could hold a lot more weight than you can here with a lot of other positions. This is pretty dominant. So what I'm gonna do, if I wanna just take his back, I'm gonna smack his elbow and head to the mat. I'm gonna bring my hand through high on the tricep. And then I'm just gonna rotate, right? And from here, just be able to circle back and go back here just to practice this movement. It's 1, 2. It may seem like you're giving up so much, but you're really not. So I'm still on it. If he tries to stand up and face me, right? I have that quick angle. I already halfway to his back. So ultimately this kind of positioning starts from a snap. Like if we're here, I have an inside tie, right? And I'm faking and snapping. You see after my snap, I'm automatically like a waiter holding a big tray of food right behind his elbow or tricep. Right? So no matter what the snap is at, right? Now I have his back. So the more athletic you are, the easier you can kind of float and surf on them within this transition. Right? So if I'm snapping, right, being able to kind of just navigate those waters because our hands give us an outlet. Because that's all we're doing really. Whether we're here, that movement. If he tries to lift this arm, no. I say the best way to practice this, me showing you this full spectrum, like how to take the back as a wrestler from an efficient position, is probably Matt is on his, just his knees, hands up, yep. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step in. As I step back, I snap. Then my hand comes through. Right? Of course, I'm negating all the cool stuff submission-wise we can do. Just understand this little movement right here. It's where we have a front headlock and a snap. That's the release point. Now if he comes up to even stand up and circle and face me, I have a double leg. Probably the most basic, easy double leg to get into. It's a snap, and he stands up and faces me. You see that? And I'm just lower than him and have an angle. There's no guillotine. It's not like straight in front of someone where your head is a target, right? Or on the side of all. You stand up and faces me. You see how I could be on the side of all that? So all these kind of connect. If he's shooting a single leg, like being able to get that hand here, rather than dragging. I am team waiter over team arm drag. Arm drag, the hip drag, good people. As well as it leaves me with the seatbelt, where if we're super good and sweaty, most times if I do this an arm drag, when I go to a seatbelt, I'll end up high and I'll back door. Just good people, right? So making sure that I'm underneath. There's no up too high. With arm drags, that's all that is to me. Of course, I love arm drags, but the ones from right in front leave you prone and susceptible. Good people to in transition, right? So we're gonna go T-Rex arms. Let's start where they're on their knees. Have an inside tie and loose. There's no rigidity. The only rigidity is when I snap down, right? So I'm loose. I don't want to like give a tell, especially when I'm learning how to snap properly. I don't want to like be stiff and then stay. There has to be a little bit of looseness, like a rope that you're gonna whip, right? I step in, there's nothing on my step in with my hands. It's the same. I kind of just want to close some space so that on the way back, right? Underneath me, not in front of me and down. I tell us the snap should exist towards the foot that I'm moving, right? See how high I'm on? I mean, Matt doesn't have many freedoms here. Make sense? Let's try it 10 times each. Just that drill. And we're gonna work that into so many takedowns just based on the scramble where it ends up. All right, on 3, let's go. Here's a period of plenty of knees here. So I haven't really shot in a long time. But the threat and the fake of a shot, that's what has become my sword, right? So within this inside tie, which I like to kind of flare out just a skosh, like where I'm not like holding them in front of me. I'm kind of like, I can pull them in, or I can hold them out with a C, double C, right? I have like options, right? If I want to be offensive, right, I kind of move to like these handles without my thumbs in the way, but the thumbs are great for defense. Like if he tries to change levels and shoot, like I have like these stoppers, right? So take that shot, right? It's really difficult, right? So what I want to do is I want to go from that position to this position for my fake at least. So as a partner, let's stand like neutral just so there's no like left foot lead or right foot lead, just a little bit of a stance. So what I want to do, since I'm a lefty, I want to threaten to the cross leg. So I can kind of lift up and stomp like there's a tarantula. It has to be a fast twitch. You gotta sell it, right? We don't really want to like shoot, right? We want to like fake that. So our free hand, the one that's faking to the leg, comes out and around, not like threading through a narrow spot. So you want to think of this faking arm as like a windmill. It's back to the head. So if you watch it, my left hand, so it's here, there, right? So it's you barely have to touch someone if you do it properly. Like might be some fakes. Right. Just have that angle behind the armpit. I'm blocking. If he stands up, like within this, I'm in my double. Just the angle has prepared me for winning that position, right? So to go slower, most of us are probably righties, right? So my right hand is gonna fake, come back out. Just not moving. Some people might do nothing, but at least you've created some freedom with your arm. Even if they don't react, they don't fall on their face, they don't sprawl, it's okay. You just have that. Just that little movement. Inside tie. We can do this off an elbow, just a little harder. So like get that same pull. So I like inside the wrist, or just inside movement. So you have like just an inside tie. Boom, boom. Just that little angle. So we don't need to fake. We have like really impressive like movement, right? I step forward and then I snap. Just do that. But the fake helps, right? To clear, create some whip. So start slow with mechanics. Kind of frame him. Like create a fake opening. Big accelerate. Any questions? Right on 3, 1, 2, 3. This is kind of like a little bit of everything and conserving space. So kind of got some stuff that was mostly from the inside. You know, a little bit of the stuff we do just now is from the bare minimum inside ties. But I think I'm working like inside to out. Like, you know, the best thing you get is double unders. So that's where we started. But how do you even get to someone if they're prone to point guard or prone to shooting? Upon being threatened, they do the scared thing. So I like to always look for risks first, right? I'm not the strongest person in compared to a lot of the younger studs I train. So I kind of work from like the outside in, rather than just like a double to a pummel or something, right? So I look for tendencies, okay? I like to, personally, it emanates from my judo, I like to look for a wrist and thumb in, rather than this. I like to look for this as my first kind of like connection. Now my right side can become acquainted. Now I can work myself into an easy underhook because I have the inside position. Now from here, the natural like path forward, if we're looking at a pyramid of control, is to get under, an underhook, double underhook. So here, if I was going to do like a ippon seo and a gi, it would probably be from this side of control. So I've learned to like control the right parts of the wrist and hand to be able to, so they can't roll it or back it to elbow out. Like if he tries to elbow back, I'm probably going to keep that thing, right? And that might lead me to a shot, you know, like being able to get to somewhere because he's over fixated on one point. But the goal for a judoka like me is to get some tie-ups going, right? There, first. Underhook, second. Now I can like lead that dance and start using my feet and my hips. So just to get to that underhook is a pretty easy standard way, here and here. Once I get this wrist, I'm on the inside, right? Boom. So another way I like to get to an underhook is if it's just a basic kind of person that I'm going against and the collar tie is safe and accessible, so they like to hang out there, right? So he's gonna back. This is where I'm looking to get my underhook. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use an abbreviated dim mock, like the death touch, and I'm gonna roll my shoulder underneath. So I'm doing two things at once. Right? A little short, 1-inch Bruce Lee kill shot, and I'm rolling my shoulder inside. So if this is where you're wearing gis, it's equivalent to rolling your shoulder when someone comes high. So it's here, right? I don't want to do it back and then we're just grinding each other aimlessly, wasting energy. So I want to look for my underhook, right? I just roll my shoulder, and I like to grab onto that shoulder. This or that. Those are the two. Here or here. Anything else, you know, like, yeah, it's good. You better be looking for a finishing takedown. These are two, like, control positions, right? He can't limp arm from here. I'm holding that shoulder. Even if he's, like, shoulderless, I'm going to keep that shoulder. And I'm pinching my elbow down in it. I'm not, like, too greedy, because he's going to be able to do things, right? So, and I can control this side and work towards, like, easy offensive takedowns using our feet, using our hands, wrestling, and some judo. So those are the two kind of easiest ways I like to get it done. The third is they shoot, because out of just desperation. And you know, I still wake myself up 25 years later, 23 years later from my wrestling career. Just from like sprawling and reacting to someone shooting. That's gonna be hard for, you know, people who didn't grow up in that kind of paradigm and understanding of grappling, is having to sprawl in an instant. So I think the most basic way to learn that is to learn a down block rather than like a sprawl, like committing so much of your body weight. It's just being able to like get your hand to slap your thigh the minute you feel a shot coming. Move that lead leg back. So if he's shooting on my lead leg, right there I have a front headlock, or I have an underhook because I'm under, rather than he shoots and I watch that happen. Now I'm married to this wizard and I'm over. Make sense? So it's just like slapping your thigh. Now I have an underhook. So it's like almost using that wrestling rather than depending, if he gets a single, maybe his head's on the outside, then having to grab his head and commit to a guillotine that might be not the angle we need, and now we're just stuck on our back for a lengthy period of time. It's like nipping that in the bud, and that comes from a reaction standpoint. I'm under. No matter what he does, if he tries to anything, Matt, I have that underhook. Now, you know, I'm working my way up. I don't have to do anything big. So those are the three basic ways I like to get into an underhook. Not a pummel, not where we're 50-50 even, but where there's like lefty versus righty, whizzer versus underhook, head position, all this kind of matters in here for takedowns, whether we're gonna like throw it by, whether we're gonna do kind of judo style takedowns, whether we're gonna use our feet, whether we're gonna be able to shoot with it. All those things are dependent on getting to these positions. So it's not as easy as, all right, just grab an underhook, guys, start, go. A lot of times it's going to emanate from one of these 3 and 4 positions where there's a snap, we have to push, we have to find our underhook. Now, we're able to like, use offense, whatever that may be. Right? So underhooks is like where I start. Number 2 is 2-on-1s. So I can do all these kind of takedowns. Because 2-on-1 to me is also a wizard, right? Because I could like, oh, thank you, now I have like all I need. If you're confident from a wizard. So for now, let's just stick with the 2-on-1. So a bunch of ways I like to go into here. Number 1, I like to just 2 hands on 1. I'm doing that same kind of like thumb in rather than like reaching for it. The top hand is kind of turned. It's like snatch a sleeve to be able to like grip a gi, but it's just like this. Now I'm pulling it to me. Now I have, this thing is married to me. If he can't face me, put your hands on my head and circle. Right? There's no space. I'm just leading. You see how when he tries to create a face, I just cut him off. And this is the most common thing I've seen teaching a 2-on-1. It's like, I'm only creating more space, and it's only a matter of time before he's out. So, meat hooks, double meat hooks. And when he starts circling, I just kind of cut him off. Right? I always want to be in front just a little bit. That way I can like use my feet, right? I can like use my legs, have options from this one single tie-up. So 2-on-1, 2 hands at the same time, pull it in, So this 90-degree perpendicular angle, right? I don't like to just be facing the same way as him or completely facing him. It's this little angle, you know? We'll be able to use our legs for throwing, our hips for throwing, right? So it's just having good positions to start from. Doesn't mean you have to do these crazy throws. It just means the offense might look a little different. Like from this 2-on-1, I might just arm drag it. And get my takedowns a lot more basic. Get this 2-on-1. My favorite one is probably just a leg chop. So I'm gonna put my hands at 2 feet in at the same time. And I'm shoveling. Right? So it's being able to throw that down, kind of like Guitar Hero. Perpendicular, parallel. Shovel down and out. So I think before I kind of have you guys jump off and do anything, just understand the key components of like the mechanics of how do we get to a position, right? I would say if it's a pummel, I only like to get to a 50-50 pummel if we're both leading with the same foot. That's the only time, yep, no, you're good, left, or right. It may look opposite, but it's the same foot, right? So I'm a lefty, Matt's a lefty. I'm not looking at that far side. There's just too much work in that normal paradigm of whizzer, underhook, dogfight. So it's going to be more of what we did today, which for most of you is probably going to be right lead here. This is where the under double, this position comes way more into play than what we did. So it's kind of understanding right off the rip. You slap bump, you bow, you just shake hands. Oh, he's a righty too, probably. We're both leading with the same foot. So now like, I can find my opponent. If we lead with the opposite feet, okay, near wrist, underhook. He's probably going to club with this side, underhook. I might have to just go after it 2-on-1. That's for like this opposing stance. For people that are like both or middleies, inside highs. So if he's both or middle, I gotta control the inside. He might try and get to the inside as well, but I gotta block him off and get back to the inside. Snap. So I'm controlling him in a little bit different way until maybe I can find my offense, right? So just as a bridge to reality this last 5 minutes here. What are they doing? Okay, they're leading with their right foot. They're probably a righty, and I'm a lefty. So I'm looking for underhooks, 2-on-1s, and lastly, probably whizzers, like using my hip, like conceding position, but only if you're really confident in that kind of stuff. So just kind of key components to leveling up your IQ, standing, right? If someone's neutral in a squat, well, it's like conventional wrestler probably. We're gonna have good singles, good doubles, and good sprawling. So we're probably gonna do some workarounds. So kind of just understand, right? When you feel someone, okay, now I have a game plan. And that can ease a lot of minds when you're scrapping with someone in practice or a tournament. Like just right away, when you notice something or if you know something about them, kind of eases those nerves a little bit. There's something familiar about, okay, now I recognize this pattern. I can plug in this algorithm, right? Okay, so as far as those are concerned, any questions, just opening it up for like anything we've done or just things in general that pertain to grappling? Yeah.
Did you have a lot of shoulder pressure in on that 2-on-1 too, or was it mostly just pinning?
It's pinning and pulling mostly, so it's up in here. Because I like to use my hips. So I'm not trying to like wrestle it, It's almost like the difference between a whizzer kick and an uchimata. Like a whizzer kick is more like this, right? And an uchimata, I gotta get some lift out of this whizzer so I can like get air underneath it, because there has to be kazushi. So it's just like wrestling versus kind of, I want judo concept. So my hips underneath this thing rather than behind it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's time and place, but if someone good, I'm trying to like be light and use my feet and find like an imbalance. And to do that, I have to have good posture. It's really hard for me to like stubby the legs in a stance, right? Good question. Oh yeah.
You always want to be perpendicular or side to side?
We were doing a move side to side, but like as far as if I'm here with Matt and I have an underhook, this isn't really like reality too, he's gonna try to face me. Like this way, there's this game plan, right? So yeah, I want to be perpendicular when I think of a move, throw by or whatever I feel. So yeah, maybe when we're doing a technique like a Kayatoshi, yeah, technically we're both facing the same direction, but for a split second for a move, rather than that's our hangout spot. Okay? Yeah.
I two. The first one is when I'm doing stand-ups and I'm fighting that hand to the opposite hip. Sometimes what I run into is them snapping me back from behind and trying to do it, and then I'm working kind of like trying to fight for like the peek out, or I'm trying to fight that stand-up. Is there something that you can work on or that I need to pay more attention to? Because like
So they're not,
obviously
you're
I'm
not getting
doing
the
that.
hands broken.
No, like I'll start and they'll feel me do that, and I'll put my weight back, and then they snap
Suck
me
you back?
Yeah.
Do they crab ride or do they stay on their feet?
They'll try to crab ride it, and they'll try, or they'll just try to take my back and get it.
Yeah, so I think that's gonna happen the more squared you are.
Okay.
Like if I'm here, yeah, I'm gonna be prone to falling on my butt here, for sure. Like if you sit with me like you crab ride sit, like yeah, it's not much stopping at all. So if I anchor myself in a stance over one hip, like we talked about today, you have like your support beam, right? And if he tries to circle for an angle, follow it, like use that hand, like get him back behind you. See that? It's only a matter of time before I break that. And if he tries to suck me back, my left leg is in the way. You see this little kickstand?
Yeah.
Not here. That's for sure getting sucked back, right? Like if Salinas doesn't have a foot back, for sure I'm gonna be able to like lift and suck back, you know, kind of Mighty Mouse style even, but just there's nothing supporting it. So make sure, you know, the backwards you're keeping them on your back as you're moving those hands down and away, so you can peel. Just reps, really.
I feel like I usually do it with someone that's a lot stronger than me. Like I'm trying to put all my weight physically back there and trying to get it, and then I just look up at it. Or if I feel like doing that, I jump straight to like I'm
Okay, well, there are answers other than breaking. So no, it's good. This gets us into another discussion a little bit. So we can't break the lock. I know this is going to sound a little weird, but we want to almost create a seatbelt. So an over under rather than a double under. So what I like to do sometimes is slide one hand in. I better make sure that that's the same hand that's foot is forward. If it's this hand, he's going to mat return me in a trapped arm. And that's terrible. So don't do that. The same side that our foot is forward, that's the side where you can keep that lock now. I want to get under. Now I'm going to punch up as I enter for like a Nippon Seonagi almost. Okay. So if I do break that lock and I can get my elbow in, I'm doing the same thing anyways. But if I don't, I'm just going to jam it in there and punch up. Because there's enough force on that when I roll to be able to face it. Right? So you don't necessarily have to do all that if you're willing to like pay the biggest price, which is your neck. If I do this, like, you see, like, if you just jump, there's only a moment we want to be here before we're like rotating. Facing. Yeah.
With that first one that he's in the room, I think it was, when you're coming in for like a pummel, do you like to catch and run and try to go then, or do you like to get a little assist, maybe, yeah?
Versus soccer.
Yeah. Or do you like to get a little established first before you pull them around the corner? Or
So
like,
if we're gonna go a little deeper into side, I don't really, you know, I prefer both sides. You know, the underhook or the overhook. Just depending on how to trap that arm. It's whether or not they let my head have enough freedom. If they're holding me real tight, I would have a hard time putting my head on this side and then using my foot. Because I do not want to use this foot if their head's too, like, there's so much weight over there, right? So that's why I kind of like to use one side sometimes and then use the other side. Just being able to mix up the same technique with the same tab rather than switching tabs every time you want to use the side. You don't have to like, okay, I have a right underhook, I have to use my right foot. But you need to make sure that you can get their head in front of you almost, like that. You see that? So if it's a wrestler, it's going to be harder. If it's someone who's more upright and casual, not just a judoka, but you know, a lot of jiu-jitsu stand-up type is a little bit more, less strenuously in the wrestling stance, right? So it's a little more upright to begin with. So you might have that opportunity to use your foot on the opposite side. I don't know if that got much. Yeah.
So somebody who does use the sasai, like if we're doing like judo, we usually want to have like 2 or 3 other throws that we can do.
Sure.
Now, if somebody has the sasai really in their game, what other throws would you say would be complementary to that throw
So
specifically?
if I'm doing sasai, what other throws would I do?
Yes.
With that sasai, sure.
Yeah, so like say the sasai doesn't work, or
Yeah, Osoto.
Osoto, okay.
So if I could like twitch my sasai, not really do it, or like show it, Like I'm showing it. And I'm
Okay.
So it's just to get a subtle reaction out of him, which is like heels. When I pull, he's gonna naturally like almost a 10% guard pull is gonna happen because of just, you know, pushing. Then I'm already like behind. But I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. Day one right here today. You have to fall, you have to understand like these other concepts. But yeah, that would be number one.
Okay.
Probably. Number two is if I'm trying to do Sasai and I sense them a little bit like that foot is hard to just like get at. I like Ouchi. So I like to pull the same way and like be able to like read that. Just enough to get the Achilles. It's not one of those like falling down, groveling for an ankle, climbing up. It's sophisticated, right? If I miss it, I'm not out of anything, right? I might have another movement in the back, right? But if I do get it, I pull that back, right? I'm able to pass. I'm using transitions after the takedown.
Okay.
So Ouchi, Osoto, those are good same side techniques.
Awesome.
When you go to control your go-to sets that you watch on someone who has like a really heavy collar guy, like keeps that frame real low, but can't really control it, can't use that punch.
Sure. 2-on-1s usually.
Yeah.
So my 2-on-1, instead of like the conventional wisdom, is like a lot of times within that little movement, they're already like they're out. So what I like to do is come in and rotate, almost like mirror locking to a degree. I cross foot step rather than like step out and look away. I double down on this angle. So you see I walk into it. So it's compromising their position, it's making them concede, and then there's control rather than no control, no control, control. Oof. Within that little moment, you know, quick things in the hand fighting Bill are more than like slow roll, jiu-jitsu, closed guard. It's the exact opposite. Every position is changing within the second. So it's got to be in control, keeping in control, shuffling maybe, just having like something to go to from that position.
What if they rub the
Double collar?
Yeah.
So in this position, I like to just do the same thing. And if I can, you see,
Yeah. You don't have that problem.
now like, you know, judo to follow, usually. If like, they're so like, you know.
With those, so if you're attempting a lateral drop and their hips go back, would you, because you have to go out and then essentially come back into the middle, would you still attempt that, or is it more just like a speed, or would you transition to something else? You have to go out and then come back in. You're popping
So
your
after
hips
Sasai,
forward. Yeah, or for like a lateral drop.
some lat drops. I've never been a big bit of a lat drop. I kind of like, it's just, I don't know. Software doesn't match for me. So that's like falling and then hoping a little bit, right? Where it's like, I want to be the second to fall. So, you know, off this aside, finding out something that you don't have to make it big. You know, Ouchi's probably the best option as a secondary move instead of forcing home that aside.
Okay.
You know, if not as good, I should know that and have something ready, like a good knee tap and understanding where my angle is. Like I don't want to go in a circle with him the way he wants me to go. I want to like cut in front of him. So if Matt's doing this aside, I know he's doing this aside. You see how like it's just smelling it out, sensing, and going with it in a new angle, rather than like whoa. Right? So with enough reps you do, you're gonna find how to nip things in the bud. Especially if you're a good partner, you're gonna be able to like increase your IQ within these types dramatically. I'm lucky I get a guy every day to train with Matt Schneider, who's a world-class judoka, D1 wrestler, national American high school wrestler. So it's finding someone and drilling and getting better and progressing every day, even when you're, you know, ripe old age like me. But yeah.
So when you have that body lock from your back and you're staggering to break the grips, is there a way that you keep your knee safe so that it doesn't lat drop like break your knee upward?
Yes.
Like, am I correct in thinking you keep it right under you?
So yeah, that is the thing. If my foot is the only thing, and in jiu-jitsu, compared to like wrestling, folks, you're not allowed to just jump on a leg. You can't like, you know, like sit down on someone's foot. Where in jiu-jitsu, it's like you see that more than anything. So yeah, there's plenty of other things. We don't. That's just the basic. You want to get back to facing them. This is what you do.
Isn't that like a no-no if they go for it?
I mean, I don't write the rules of the IBJJF or ADC.
This should happen.
Yes. So we gotta like.
Was it front or rear?
Right here. So as far as this leg, if you just were to sit on it, that's terrible. Like, we don't want to do that as partners. We want to like, but it exists, so it doesn't. We got to deal with that. So, you know, there's a lot of times where if his head's on the same side, like this, and I can't break this, if his head's, I can see his head, I'm whizzering and I'm binding it. So from here, yeah, this is just a segue position. I don't want to hang out here, but if he tried to lift me and throw me, like, I'm tethered in a way where it's like, there's very little he can do, and then on the way down, I might have something. I'm not saying do all that craziness, but that's a go-to for me. If I can't see his head's on the other side, I'm not going to do it to my right side because it's too far. I'm just going to grab the lat. Now I'm in the same position. Now, like, right here, Matt has options, but I mean, none of them are really great. So it's just understanding where you're safe. If you can't throw anyone from here, at least it's a fail-safe. Try and take me down, Matt, just do this. Right?
You can't back drop on that.
No. So I have a lat and a vine. So my vine, Kawazu Gake, I'm not trying to get it super deep. The shallower the better. Posture the better. He'll make a mistake, is what I depend on. Like whether I could pull this thing like maybe forward, or be able to take it down or throw. With a Uchimata here, it's probably my favorite where, you know. So, yes, I know it's like, okay, you want me to do that? No, but those are options that I do. Nevertheless, when you have my back, you know, figuring out, you know, our switches, our other techniques that aren't as like, just face him. It's like, maybe we can get a reversal out of it, you know? So like wrestling has, I would say that's where all the magic is in folk style wrestling. Freestyle doesn't have it. There's no reversals, there's no stand-ups. So I think the most crossover for jiu-jitsu is folk style wrestling. But you have to concede. You're not going to face them in wrestling. That's the big difference. So if you give up your back, have great back defense. But that's your way up and towards reversals. If you're a heavy guard, sweeper, jiu-jitsu,